Welcome to a new episode of Outside the Panels with your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Welcome everyone to an episode of Outside the Panels. I'm your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes, and as you know, I like a good Kickstarter. Well, who doesn't, right? This time around, we are talking to, today, on the day of launch, to writer, creator, Anthony Stokes of the fantastically well put together DECAY series. Issue 2 is launched on Kickstarter right now. And to talk to us about it and tell us everything, well, not everything, go buy the book to find that out, is Anthony. Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for the kind words.
No, excellent.
And thank you for the review that you made.
Yeah, so if for those who are interested and want to check out the Kickstarters and want to know what the hell's going on before you get there, don't forget to check out comiccrusaders.shop, type in the word DECAY #1, and you will be taken to a review of the first issue, which launched, when was that, Anthony? Was that 2020 or was it last year?
2021, August.
2021. There you go. Cool. Slap bang in the middle. So help a guy out. What's DECAY? What's the story? What's going on?
You read it. You know.
I know. Hey, I know what it's about. Don't want to hear me tell it. I want to hear you tell it.
It's essentially a story about family, grief, loss. It's very grim. Essentially, it's about staying alive for somebody else, for another person, and what happens when that doesn't work out.
Okay, cool, excellent. So, family, loss, love, that sort of stuff. Sounds very much 5 stages of grief. Does that kind of show a play in there down the line?
I think we're on the. That is interesting. In a manner of speaking, yes, because it is about grief, and then there are people that die. So it's like these characters have already gone through the 5 stages of grief in another scenario, and then it's like they kind of got to go through it again. Yeah, it's like the 6th stage of grief. I'm gonna use that.
Yeah, 6th stage. Yeah, so you've got loss, acceptance, despair, and then of course, it's set in New Orleans. Is this New Orleans? Are you a New Orleans person?
No, I am not from New Orleans. I plan on going this summer. This campaign.
Go Saints, right? Go Saints.
No, not at all. I'm an Eagles fan.
Oh, I can't say I'm a Dolphins fan, as you can tell.
Really? Wow. You gotta tell me about that another time.
Yeah, I got into American football back in the 80s, so it was all
okay.
So
yeah,
that's it.
Because I am not into football. Like I'm not into like any of the. I don't know. I think that's great. That's lovely. No, so I plan on going this summer if this campaign takes off, and cool. It was just to be completely honest, it's kind of cynical. So when you film, I'm originally a screenwriter.
Okay, cool.
And when you film in New Orleans, you get a tax credit because of Hurricane Katrina. You're bringing a lot of business and a lot of money into the city, and then you get a tax credit. So I was like, okay, I want to like make this as easy as possible to get made into a movie.
Cool.
So I said New Orleans.
Brilliant. So you were a screenwriter. So have I seen anything that you've penned?
You have not. You have absolutely not seen anything. You've seen DECAY.
Well, why not? Why not? Because I mean, I've seen DECAY. DECAY reads extremely well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's cheaper to make a comic book than a. It's cheaper to make a comic book than a short film, a web series, or anything, and it looks significantly better. I mean, just for the art alone, like DECAY issue 2, the art, let's say, costs $2,500.
Right.
That might be the cost of a camera to film a good looking, what I'm saying, like that, and you probably need 2 cameras, so it's just it takes such less resources, and I love it. I consider myself a storyteller, really.
Okay.
But like I have an obsession with dialogue. Like that is my first true love is dialogue, and it's like I think like seeing my dialogue, like acted by actors on a big screen, like that. This won't replace that. Like it doesn't scratch that itch, but it is fantastic to on the other side to have like full creative freedom to do truthfully whatever you want.
Yeah. So, are you a comic book fan of past books? Do you have your favorite influences going on?
Like I said, like me being mostly in the movies, like I read. Okay, of all the mediums, number one would be like movies. Number two would be like television. Number three would be like manga, and then novels, and then comics would probably be at the very end because yeah, I mean you got to think like manga was really taking off when I was growing up, you know, and it was actually kind of cheaper and more accessible. Like it's easier to get into manga because, like, for instance, Naruto starts with volume 1 and I can just read, and then who knows what you have to start at to read, like Superman. What was it? It was one of
Action
them.
Comics really #1 is be a good place.
Yeah, actually, I'll start with Action Comics. Yeah, exactly. Real easy to get my hand on one of those, right? So yeah, it was just easier, and it was. But I read the big stuff. Like I read Kick-Ass. I read Scott Pilgrim. Oh my God, is one of my favorites. Watchmen. You know what I'm saying? So I read the big stuff.
Do you think that Scott Pilgrim, because obviously you've read the book now and you say you're a movie fan and so on, do you think Scott Pilgrim translates really well onto the film screen?
Yeah. Well, I think Scott Pilgrim is a great example of, it says transmedia narrative. So it's like, it's something that when you're pulling in influences from all these different things, I think it could translate to just about anything because it's influenced by manga, by movies, by kung fu movies, by games. It's video games, arcade video games, you know, beat 'em ups. They made a beat 'em up video game out of it, you know. So that's just a wonderful franchise, and I can't, like, you wouldn't see the influence in DECAY, but like that was like Edgar Wright is one of my favorite filmmakers, you know.
Okay. So what influences are there? I mean, hold on. Let's be honest. You're in New Orleans. You've got voodoo going on. So basically, you're saying "Live and Let Die," James Bond movie, right?
No. I don't know if you're joking or not. I don't know if you're joking or not.
I am joking.
I've only seen the Daniel Craig ones. I mean, the Pierce Brosnan ones, I was like a kid, you know?
Yeah. I mean, the influence, the whole voodoo elements and so on.
I think that's an interest because I haven't seen that movie. But one thing that was a real point of emphasis was that I don't think voodoo has been handled well by Western media. It is a West African religion, and it was very important for me not to demonize it. You know, a lot of times you see the voodoo in the movies. It's like really dirty. They're like cutting the heads off of chickens. It's like
it uses a horror. It uses a horror trope, isn't it? More than an actual genuine religion or belief.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what was important. It was like when you see, you know, the shrine, it's like nice and clean. It's like aesthetically pleasing. It's bright, you know. So I truthfully, as far as inspiration for media to bring in the voodoo elements, there was none. It was almost like going in the opposite direction. And I didn't want it to be anything like negative to be associated with. And actually, if you like the actual physical comic book, the word voodoo is removed.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be a part of, you know, vilifying it, you know.
Okay, cool. All right, excellent. So let's talk about the book. I've got issue 1 ready to have a quick look at. There we go. Check that out. Let's make that a bit larger, shall we? Where's my comic? There it is. When I do this, it always goes wrong, so apologies.
There is an HD version. This is kind of like the low res.
Oh, sorry. Well, I always do this wrong. Sorry. We'll get there in the end. Come on. Back with the way you came. We'll go there. Right. So here we go. So it starts off straight away. You've got death going on from pretty much the get-go.
Yep.
Why start there? Why start at the end? Or is the end really the beginning?
It's not the end. It's kind of like if this was a movie, this wouldn't this wouldn't even be the inciting incident. I think
Mhm.
like, this is like a cold open to a TV show essentially.
Mhm.
Well, to me, as I mentioned, I've been a screenwriter. I've been a lot of things and pretty much failed at all of them. And I realized is that that sounds discouraging, but it's just honesty. Like it's just being real, the audience owes you nothing. You have to give something, you have to hook people essentially.
Mhm.
Like I knew that immediately. I was like, I can't make something where I would read comic books from indie creators, not the ones I know now. And they were so caught up in the lore and these characters that they've created that it's hard to get into. It's like this big, it's just exposition because you're so caught up in like this brand story that you've made. And it's like, you haven't even given me a reason to care. There's no human element.
So how'd you get around that then? I mean, the characters based in this book are the people you know? Do you kind of have influences from people you've met, or is it kind of like the characters that you would want to see?
Well, as far as influences, I mean, anybody can relate to losing somebody they care about. That's just a part of the human. That's a cultural just unifier, I would say. And so anybody can look at that, and again, is the human element is like anybody can relate to that. So when you see somebody holding somebody they care about, like you instantly empathize, or you should anyway.
Yeah.
And then as far as it was just that was essentially it. Just trying to make a story that was relatable. I did interject some stuff in there, absolutely. But to me, I don't know how else I would start it, like truthfully. And I think that's, at least from my perspective, that I think that's when you have you structured your story well, when you feel like there's nothing I could have done differently,
Cool. So the relationship between these characters, how did you kind of start to ferment that? Because you've got the dude, you've got his best friend, and you've got the girl. And then that's like those are like your three pillars of the story. You take one of those pillars away. That's not a spoiler, by the way. You've just seen it on the panel.
Literally,
we talked about it. There's a loss, right? You take one of those pillars away. How do you maintain that balance between, if you said dialogue's your thing, how do you manage to keep that solid base before things start to progress further down the line?
You establish them as efficiently as possible, not necessarily as quick as possible, right? So the two characters are talking and they're having a conversation, speaking of dialogue, and they say, "Hey man, I've known you since we were kids. We went to high school together. We have a drink business, and now you want me to do this? Hey, I know your parents died, but we have to do," it would be inauthentic, it'd be corny, and instead you get these moments that are a lot more subtle and a lot more efficient. Like when you watch a Quentin Tarantino movie, for instance, there's not a lot of backstory. Like if you watch Pulp Fiction, there's not backstory on any of the characters. I think there's one, Bruce Willis's character, because of the gold watch. But everybody else, they show up and you know what they're about. Almost instantly. So I devoted pretty much like a page per intro to keep things tight. Like this page right here, I love
this page. I've stopped on here for a reason.
So this is supposed to be kind of like, and also I wanted, like, it's a very heavy story. I like moments of levity that don't break the tone. And to me, this would be like, okay, you think it's a woman putting on her own makeup, and it turns out to be like a corpse. So for instance, the take away from this could be that this person is morbid, but in a good way. They're interesting. They're very empathetic. There's a lot to take away from this one page.
That's where I'm at. I came across this page, and when I was reading the book, and I was like, "Oh, someone's putting lipstick on." But the first thing that gave me was, "Oh, her eyes are closed. Why is she putting makeup on?" And then obviously the bottom sets off the scene. I've recently gone through something where I've lost someone, and just the care and tenderness that your female character is putting on here is just absolutely amazing. I've just absolutely totally resonated with something that I've been through myself. And again, later on in the book, where it's the friend that's lying there, and her mate says, "Oh, don't worry, I'll make him look good."
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like that whole thing. It just kind of hit me. I was like, wow, that's really well observed, and I think that's what I liked about the book is the fact that you've got all this other stuff going on. You've got like the friendship between the dudes. You've got the death. You've got the supernatural elements hinted at as we move into issue 2. But it was, for me, it was this sort of thing that absolutely, this observational type stuff that just made me stop and think. So
it's the human stuff.
So well done on that. Well done on that. Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Cool.
Well, yeah, it's important to me that like I'm making a comic book, but I'm not gonna shoehorn in a bunch of comic booky stuff and distract from the real story, which is a brother and sister story.
Yeah. Cool. So you said you like doing this in kind of installments. So you've got this book, the first issue. It takes a while to get to where you think it's going to go.
Do you think so?
I think so. It's a good thing.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a good thing because some people say the story is too fastly paced. So I think that's interesting.
It's a great thing because obviously I read the Kickstarter before I read the book, and then I read the book, and so I had expectations that this thing was going to happen slap bang here, but it hasn't. The main thing hasn't even happened yet. By the end of the book, you're like, so now I'm like, oh, hold on a second. All this has been kind of like groundwork, setting the table, and all that sort of stuff. And again, this is a credit to you, Anthony, is it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like it's forced. It doesn't feel like, I'm having to go through this to find out what's going on. It feels quite immersive from the get-go. And I think that's the benefit of the start that you did, where you open up in the book and the guy's already dead. You're like, whoa, what? Automatically you think, what's going on?
Yeah.
You kind of, you're straight into it. It's not like, this is this character, this is this character, this is how they interact, this is that. It's very much straight in there. Like you say, like Tarantino, very much straight in, get going, and from there. So,
and I think also it adds a sense of dread to the scenes.
Yes.
What I like dread is that it's like it's I like cooking metaphors.
Yeah.
So if I'm cooking something and it's hot and I take it off the heat, somebody will say the carryover heat will continue to cook it. So you feel that opening throughout the entire story.
Yeah.
So that should add some tension.
Yeah.
While you're getting, there's still tension while you're getting to know these characters.
Yeah.
It's
the foreboding that something's going to happen.
Yeah,
something's going to happen. But not only that, something has happened.
Yes, that's also
yeah. And there's a hinted at resolution down the line. What is it? Resolution?
Readers should find out.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Find out later today when you're back to Kickstarter. That's what you should do. Right, excellent. Okay. Before we get ready for some more questions, time for one of our ads for one of our other shows. As we're talking to Anthony and we're talking about indie books. Do I have flip side? I never put the flip side focus thing on that. It's crazy. All right. Okay. Let's have this one. Check this show out. For all you old-timer fans out there, check it out.
Do you want to find out what makes the professor do his happy dance? Check out the Old Timers Comic Book Show, only on the UCPN.
There you go. For you fans of comic books from over 25 years ago, check out the Old Timers to find out what's going on. There you go. Old school. Talking of old school, I have to say, I really dug this cover. Let me just...
Oh, no, it's one you're talking about. This is everybody's favorite cover.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yeah, it's definitely the highest selling cover. Besides the issue. No, absolutely. And it's good because I stepped out and ordered 1,000 of these because the margins, I was tired of getting beat up on the margins. So I love when people buy this one because I get like an extra $2.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, cool. Very EC Comics back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta Gotta love me some EC. Definitely.
Yeah, you can see Rich Ragdale. This is not the official, so I gotta find another copy. I mean, it's fine. That's actually fine. But yeah, no, I love that cover. And one thing I liked was kind of playing into the horror tropes and kind of over exaggerating the horror elements again, and make it kind of like tongue in cheek. Like this is in some ways a very silly story. It's about somebody coming back from the dead. Like it's a little silly. Like it's okay to say. Like I hate when I'm watching a movie and it's supposed to be super dark and the main character is dressed like a bat, and there's not a level of irony to like this is a grown man dressed as a bat, and you know what I'm saying, like there's nothing that there's not a snicker, there's not you know.
Well, that's because he's Batman. That makes sense, right?
I like I said, just crack a joke. Just let me know that. Let me know that, like, hey, we understand that this is a little cheesy. Like I've argued that a lot of the golden age superheroes are like kind of cringy, and it's okay. Like they were made like 80 years ago. You know, like you know that you'd have to make an amazing property that did age perfectly for 80 years. Like that would be incredible.
Well, I think some of the characters, if you want to talk Batman, for example, Batman works across the board. You've got Camp Batman with Adam West. You've got 80s dark with Tim Burton. You've got, I don't know, the more grounded version with Nolan. You know, Batman works.
It works. I'm just saying it's a little bit like it's just a little bit like, you know, like it's fine. Like it's just it's great. It's fantastic. It's so just a little. Superman wears his underwear on his outside. Like it's okay. It's just it's
like skid marks when he lands. Yeah,
huh?
You know, to avoid skid marks when he lands.
See how we're having fun joking about Superman. It's a little cringy. It's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Is that why your book's based in Horrorland then? To avoid that cringe that would be a superhero. Do you have a superhero story in you?
Absolutely. Oh, I have every kind of story in me. No, well, I say at to work it back into DECAY is that like if I were to take this story at like face value, it is a little silly at certain points. And it's like to lean into that, I enjoy. Like I like leaning into like the more horror. Well, it does two things. Is that I think it makes like when you realize that the horror is a lot of just like human drama, I think that adds a lot of depth. And then like, yeah, there's no, like, I wouldn't call it a zombie story, but like, just playing up these elements. Like the last page is like cartoonish, but it's amazing. You know, it's great, but it's like, I don't like to take myself too seriously. I don't want to take my property too seriously as far as tone. Like I didn't make Watchmen 2 over here. You know, I made a really good story that is really going to resonate with people, but this isn't my magnum opus, you know.
Okay, cool, excellent. Okay, so you have, am I allowed to show the cover for the second issue?
Yeah, show whatever you want for the second issue. I did have one question for you though.
Oh yeah, shoot, fire away.
Because I saw your review and I believe we got a 3.5 out of 10, or no, 3.5 out of 5.
Let me double check it. Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, you did.
And I think a 3.5 out of 5 sounds better than 7 out of 10.
I agree. That's
so I appreciate your rating system.
Yeah.
So we got a 4 in the writing. What would it have taken to get a 5? I'm curious.
On the writing. That's a really good question. I think the way I look at a review and when I look at a property, especially like a first issue, I'm hesitant to give a 5 off the bat because I want to know where the story's going to go. There you go.
Damn, bro, you could have given me a 4.5.
I could have given you a 4.5, and that's fine. I could have. It's like for me, the writing has to. There were some really good bits. There were some really nice bits I liked. You know, like the setup with the morgue scene was great. The setup with the religious voodoo style panels. They were interesting. I liked the last panels when the climax of the story of the first issue kicks in. The dialogue worked. in the setup scene, but at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, this is still set up. I want to see how it progresses, and as the story progresses, when the writing starts, when the emotional stuff happens, because you talk about it's not a zombie film, but somebody's coming back from the dead, right?
Yes.
So then that's what I want to see. That's the thing that's going to get me. That's the thing that's going to the interaction between the three characters then of like, oh my God, I can't believe you brought him back. Why did you do such a horrible thing? Well, it's because I missed him, and all that sort of emotional aspect. That's what will get the 5, because that's the stuff that's going to be really powerful.
So you're saying essentially it's impossible to get a 5
Nope,
for an issue?
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. For a new book, for a Kickstarter book, it's hard to get a 5.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because you're like the setup. I think I would have factored that in, and like it doesn't sound like you're saying anything negative about the writing. And I'm not trying to get.
I love the writing. I thought.
Right.
I mean, if where is it? Where's my?
And we're just having a conversation.
Yeah. I'm just going to have a look at it.
It's cool. It's like a lot of times when you get a review. Yeah, I like the review a lot. Let me be clear. And a 7 out of 10 is or it's 3 out of 5. Excuse me. It's really good. Like that's really good for a debut. And I'm not gonna lie, if I would, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not gonna pretend like I would have liked the higher score. But that's all good and fine. But I didn't see anything negative to. No. So that's why I can understand saying, okay, a perfect score is like you blew me away, like every single thing. I understand that.
For me, in my head, a 4 blows me away.
Really? Then what's a 5? You got to see the company.
5 is like, oh my God, how fantastic is it? I'll give you an example of a 5.
Please, yeah, I want to read that.
Stray Dogs by Tony Fless. Stray Dogs. It's about this guy that goes around picking up dogs. He picks up dogs from women after he's murdered them.
Jesus.
And it's drawn like My Little Pony. So you have this. You talk about foreboding, right?
Yeah.
You have this whole. Why are the dogs acting like this? Why does one dog remember somebody like their past owner?
This is cool.
And then the discovery of the separate things that leads you to the point where, oh my God, he's a murderer. And then from that point on, it's 5 issues long. It's from Image Comics. The trade paperback's out now. If you want to see a 5-star comic, that's the bad boy. That one. Right.
Did you read issue 2
of DECAY?
DECAY.
I have not yet read issue 2.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see if we get that 5. We'll see. We'll see.
Well, this is what I'll be reading it. I'll be having a. I don't want to, if possible, I'll allow to do an advanced review for you by all means.
Please.
But obviously, we don't want to spoil too much down the
I'm
line.
never worried about spoilers, truthfully, because if you know the audience, and if you think it'll sell to show something, then. Like you showed me, you just spoiled Stray Dogs. I'm still gonna check it out. My interest is still
okay.
So if there's a particular thing you want to get into, that does kind of spoil it. Also, like there's no way. Like I try to be very tepid about that and try to be very like careful with that, but you literally can't. Like you can't help yourself, which is unfortunate. That's the nature of the business, but people still enjoy it. So
love this cover. Gotta say, love the cover. Love the shirt, because what's it like working with an artist when you're so creative yourself and you got to think you have a certain idea in your own head how things should look. How hard is it to give that trust to somebody else?
It's you have to. I mean, that's the reality. Is you my thing is I'm always just like, well, if I want to do better, I have to learn how to draw. That's not if I want to do better, but if it's not perfect, and this is well beyond. I got to give my artist credit because he came up with the motif of like having the eyes covered and doing something with your hands a little bit. So I got to give him credit for this. I had the idea of the Molotov, and I mean, look, and And I'm not just, when you see the print of this thing, it is incredible. Like that subtle kind of yellow orange. Like I don't think any of this is white. I think maybe parts of it, and it's so gorgeous. it is truthfully incredible. Almost like a John Romita Jr.
Ooh, excellent.
You
So
know, I knew him, huh?
Oh yeah, I'm impressed. Yeah. From Kick-Ass, no doubt.
Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil, yeah, and Spider-Man.
Didn't know that.
So, would you think? Okay, I know you're not a huge, like a massive comic fan, so but do you think you've just mentioned there that the colors on the actual book look better than the digital? Do you think that digital comics are a necessary evil in today's sort of comic book marketplace?
Certainly for me. I mean, my whole strategy was to give away the digital as if it were a mixtape. That was my approach. So I don't know if you've ever been stateside, but I was walking through New York, and this guy, he's a rapper, he handed me a mixtape. He said, "Hey, can you listen to my mixtape?" I said, "Yeah, I'll listen to it. I'll check it out." And I was like, I had full intention of listening to his mixtape. And then he said, "Can you give me a couple dollars?" And I was like, "I don't have any cash on me, bro." And he kind of took it back. And that moment taught me that like anybody will try something, like anybody will check something out. So if it weren't for digital copies, like, and I do sell, it is very rare. Like the ratio of like, I might've had 300, 400 people actually read the comic book digitally, but I had very few people that bought a physical copy first. Very rare.
I see a lot of digital on Kickstarter, and I understand it. It's a cost thing. It's got to be easier to send me a digital copy of a book than it is to send it all the way to the UK. Totally get that. And because of my job as a reviewer on Comic Crusaders, I have to work with digital copies because, But behind me, I've got a bookcase full of comic books over there, and I've got another one behind me over there. So it's I'm a comic book fan.
You like holding comic books?
Yeah, I do. I like holding them, and like.
I love to compare it to like watching a movie at home. There are movies that you can watch at home. You don't lose anything. But it's like watching. I've watched a lot of great movies at home, and I have a pretty good at home theater. But it's not going to come across. It's not going to be the same as watching it in a movie theater.
Well, minus the sweaty stranger next year, I suppose, right?
You're one of those anti-movie theater people.
No, I'm not. I love going to the movies, but I've got a wife.
Early.
I've got a wife who always complains about the guy who sits next to her. It's like, we go to it like a cinema. The last time I saw Batman, I went to the cinema. I saw it twice, and
7 hours.
Yeah, not a joke once. At which point, when I went to see it the second time, there was 4 people watching it.
Yeah,
and one of them in an empty theater had to sit behind me. I'm thinking to myself, "There's 4 people, 200 seats. Why are you behind me?"
Okay, well,
that's at least in my house where I'm watching stuff. If I want to kick the cat out, I can kick the cat out, right?
Yeah, well, that's fair, but there are negative experiences that come with movie theaters. But if you're like me, where like the movie theater is like my second home, like you're gonna miss some stuff in that, but it's still. I'm also not about to see everything in the movie theater. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm also, and there are movies that I've watched where I can pause, walk away. And if I'd seen that movie, like, man, I watched Scream 5 at home. And I was like, if I had seen this shit in the movie theater, I would have walked out. If I didn't have access to my phone, like if I couldn't go up and use the bathroom, I would just got to use the bathroom and never came back. So
So let me ask you as a movie fan then. Well, I'll ask you 2 questions, right? 1, top 3 favorite movies of all time, and 2, what was the last good movie you saw?
So it's going to be the same answer for both. Everything everywhere all at once is to me like a top 10 best movie I've ever seen, and also the most recent movie I've seen. So that answered the second one. I would say you said my top 3 favorite.
Oh yeah.
I would say
you can push to 5 if it's really hard. I can't do top 3.
I would say Infinity War.
Really?
I would say Parasite. Wow. I would say Parasite. I would say Scott Pilgrim. I would say Creed. I would say I would throw in Social Network in there.
Creed and not the original Rocky.
No, I was born well past the original.
I know, but you can see it. You can still. You will have
was like
seen Rocky.
2.5 hours long. You ever seen the runtime of those Rocky movies?
It's not bad, man. Just saying.
No, listen, it's easy. I just happened to be like able to go and pay for a movie ticket, and I saw Creed, and I just loved it. I truthfully loved it. And it's easier to see Creed than one of the old Rocky movies, which I have respect for. But
cool, excellent. So I think it's only fair for people who are going to be looking at the Kickstarter. Let me just bring this up. So we're going to have a look at your Kickstarter.
Let me get you the preview page link.
This is boom. I think this is the first one that we showed you. This is just so people can see how successful you actually were on the Kickstarter, which is one of the things to think about. So you had 107 backers, which is a fantastic amount.
Mm-hmm.
You got your $3,742 of a $2,000 goal. All right. And you had lots of different pledges, things like digital copies, physical copies. Physical copies, I noticed, are only US only. Or if you spend more, then you can get your. Oh, no,
with the shipping cost, it didn't make sense. It made sense to offer it at a certain price point. To do, because I feel like you can't pay more for the shipping than the product, essentially.
Yeah, agreed. I'm all right with that. So, what sort of amount are you looking for for the second one?
The goal is 3,000, and with Kickstarter, you have the goal, like the practical goal of like, okay, this one I'm going to set the goal to, and you have the actual number you have in mind. And I'll avoid saying the actual number I have in mind publicly. Don't want to get embarrassed.
Don't give the game away.
What I will say is that I set the goal, I think, at 3,500. And it wasn't just because I made 3,700 last time. That wasn't it. Because I don't want to. There's an expectation of escalation. But I changed my process drastically since issue 1. This is the new one. I got to work on it a little bit more. So the rewards price is set, but I got to adjust a few things. But yeah, this is essentially what's the.
Am I okay to play the video so people can see it?
That's what I wanted you to do, actually.
What she said.
We're very hard on this video.
Here we go.
Hi, my name is Anthony Stokes. I'm the writer and creator of DECAY Issue 2. DECAY is a bleak and atmospheric story that is character-driven and ends with a gut punch. When I was doing research for DECAY Issue 1, which was my first ever comic book, a lot of the advice I got was start small. And as a result, DECAY Issue 1 is largely about setting up the characters and asking questions. There was heavy emphasis that anybody that enjoys good story could pick up DECAY and like it. In issue 2, we answer some of those questions as well as ask some new questions to keep the story engaging. There's more world building as well as more payoff, and we still get to understand the characters better, which was very, very important. DECAY issue 2 has all the improvements on a technical level that I learned from issue 1. And I've been working with my artist Marcelo for pretty much 2 years now. So our connection and chemistry is growing stronger. And as a result, the art is only getting better. The comic book is ready to go. I've learned a lot from the last Kickstarter, and I'm taking all those lessons that I learned into the second Kickstarter to make sure that everybody gets their rewards swiftly after the campaign ends. We have 2 variant covers. We have a mixtape full of original music inspired by DECAY. We have merch, all available as rewards for the campaign. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed DECAY issue 2 as much as we enjoyed making it. Thank you.
That's pretty much it. Did like some music.
There you go. Wow. Impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, it took we filmed for a couple hours. I met a guy who was like into videography, like at work somehow, and he was so cool. And he shouts out to Jordan Stevens. He like set up like the lights behind, and like I had a mic on my. Yeah, it was incredible. So I'm really excited about the campaign.
Cool, excellent. There you go. So for anybody who wants more information on the campaign, there across the bottom you can follow Anthony at Twitter at Stokes the Writer. Dead simple to remember. And then of course there is the link if you want to go and check out the Kickstarter. It's live as we speak. If you have to pause the screen, don't do it, make my face ugly. Thanks. Cheers.
Please.
Yeah. There you go. So go and check out the link. It'll be shown at the bottom of the pod as well. There you go. Anthony, thank you so much for spending the time and talking to me about DECAY. I really enjoyed meeting you, and I'm looking forward to reading number 2. See if we can get that 5-star for you,
Fingers crossed. Absolutely.
All right. I've been your host, Johnny the Machine Hughes. Don't forget to check out the UCPN for all your favorite shows, including the Old Timers Comic Book Show. And if indie is your thing, check out Flipside Focus, where Kickstarter alerts, as well as a range of indie books, get loads of shouts out. So there you go. Keep your UCPN. I've been your host. Adios.
Visit undercovercapes.com for the latest and greatest podcasts via the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Also visit our parent company website, comiccrusaders.com, all about comic pop culture.